If you knew how much your specific person loved you, you would not want to give up. And what is even the concept or idea of giving up? Whenever we feel, and we'll feel it sometimes when things seemingly get tough, the whole concept of giving up is only because we're not realizing two things, okay? So the first one was the thing I said at the beginning, that you don't realize how much your specific person loves you. And the second one is we're not understanding our power, because the concept and idea of giving up makes no sense when it comes to manifesting, because whatever you assume to be is going to be your reality no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is, how hard you feel it is. When you assume, you are getting into that belief and creating your reality as it is. Because I always like to say there's only two ever obstacles, or no, not obstacles. There's only two ever options when it comes to manifesting, okay? You either manifest it or you give up. Literally, those are the only two. Because anything you assume becomes your reality. Your higher self, your reality does not differentiate between what it feels is more difficult or not difficult, and there's nothing outside your power. So if you remembered how much your specific person loves you, and you will in this video, you would have no concept or desire of giving up. And I actually have a success story I'm going to include in this video as well that really instigates this idea and shows it. So stay tuned for that. It'll probably be in the middle of the ending, but I'll let you guys know. I'm going to bring up the whole thing, and I'll kind of go over the whole background behind it. But so initially, the concept of giving up, okay? Think about the one option that we feel we don't have the power, right? We feel like we don't understand our true power. That's because whenever we get into a belief, and it's something I've actually included in previous videos, I talk about belief being like a tabletop, right? And that's a Tony Robbins idea. So a tabletop is supported by legs. And so your belief is supported by things that basically reiterate or support it in your reality. So I could be like, my name is Kyle. And some support might be like, Kyle, the name Kyle is on my driver's license. People call me Kyle. It's on my birth certificate, right? All these things that support the concept that my name is Kyle. And that's every belief that we have, no matter what. And so truly, we can create any belief we want instantaneously. But we get under an illusion, because I know you've heard me talk about the tabletop idea before, but I have something to add to it. So the reason we feel new beliefs are harder than old ones is because when you start and create a new belief, it has no legs, right? It seemingly has no support. So when we're coming from this aspect of a previous belief of maybe being single, we might have a lot of legs that are supporting the feeling or idea that we are single, okay? This making sense? But it wasn't always that way. And when we bring in this new belief that our specific person is in love with us and desires us, when we bring that new belief in, it's seemingly harder because it has no legs supporting it yet. And so think, in the example I always like to use this, think about when you were a kid, right? Walking right now, so easy for you, right? Or reading or anything like that. So easy. As a kid, it wasn't that easy, right? You had to try and fail over and over and over again before you totally got the belief that you could stand or you could read or things like that, right? That there's no different. And I know I use the term fail and fail and fail, but it's basically just persistence, because as soon as we identify, especially with the belief of being with our specific person, I feel like it can be easier than any other belief that you have in your reality. But don't fall into the illusion that a new belief is harder than a previous one. It's just because the old one we're so used to. Think about going to your job. Was your job always this easy? And you'd be like, well, no, when I started, it felt pretty hard and difficult. that's your new belief. Now, this time in which it feels difficult, quote unquote, because really you can take in any belief at any point in time. The time it feels difficult is just how quickly we're jumping into that assumption and how much this new assumption actually relates to our previous assumption. So if we were feeling really like our table of being single is just totally uplifted by a bunch of legs, we have to start kind of knocking those down and adding to the new table. But it will seemingly, again, quotes, take longer only because the new belief goes against all of those previous beliefs. But still, you're never outside the ability to instantly jump into a belief or instantly manifest. As with my previous video, you've manifested instantly all the time and you just never even knew it. Like everything is a manifestation. But I just want you to think about that because creating a new belief then it's the same as creating any other belief, right? It's just your ability to think or know. So if you want to be with your specific person, we just need to continuously support it, persist in it, refuse your reality. It's like those two success stories I mentioned in a previous video. It's the thumbnail of me in a car, if you haven't seen that one. That the person persisted in two different effects and saw their reality change instantaneously. So if we persist in a belief, that's what we see happen in our reality. It's the persistence. It's the continuance with any sort of belief that begins to create a different assumption and then create a different reality. So giving up literally makes no sense. Like I've had people even ask me, when should I give up? I don't know, if you don't want it. Like the question is so confusing to me because that's like, when should I give up on this thing that I really, really want and I can't live without? Sounds like never, right? To me, it sounds like you should just go get that thing right now. Like why not assume the state right here and right now? But so the question of when should I give up, if you've asked that, thought of that, I don't know, seen it, it makes no sense because it's like you already have everything within. You can't be without something. You are the beginning and the end, as the Bible and Neville Goddard would call it. So how could you ever be separated from something? Could God give up on anything? You'd be like, well, no, because they're just deciding to or deciding not to. That's you. You're either deciding to or you're deciding not to. There is no difference. And so, and I got my little notes on my iPad here because you guys like the longer videos. I really like making the longer videos. So comment if you like the longer videos down below. But so the next thing I want to talk about, and the reason why we end up in the thought of, because you know that you have infinite power, right? You know it, whether you think you know it or not, you know it. So the concept of giving up is confusing. And so the reason, though, we ever end up in this way is actually something called learned helplessness. And so learned helplessness is when we try over and over and over and over and over again at something to the point where we feel every future action is pointless. And so how many of us, like I might be hitting a note right now, how many of us feel that way? Do we feel we've tried over and over and over and over and over again, not getting the same results? That can lead to something, again, called learned helplessness, which is a known cause of depression. And so if we take the term learned helplessness, what it really means and what I like to think of it as, learned helplessness, or the feeling that you can't do it, is just a loss of hope, right? We lost the ability to see or feel or know there is a path to what we want. And that's why I made included in the one video, the idea that there is a path to everything. Every single place on earth you could get to, there's a path, no matter how far, no matter how distant, every place in the universe there's a path to. And so every manifestation, there's a path to. It's just if we're seeing it or not. And a loss of hope can really, really mess us up, because hope and faith are what give us that power in our reality. They have us knowing that we can achieve exactly what we want. And there's a billion different books. Like in a book, I don't know if you guys have ever read it, called A Man's Search for Meaning. That's what Viktor Frankl, or Frankl, however you want to say it, talks about hope. Like as soon as you lose hope, a man completely ceases to try to live or exist. And so how many of us feel that way when we lose the hope of our specific person? But you can't lose the ability to get them. And so learned helplessness is totally made up in our mind, right? It like doesn't exist. Even though we're feeling it, learned helplessness is just the giving up of the hope of receiving that. So I'm going to reinstill that hope and that desire and that knowing in you right here and right now, because you can be with your specific person. The concept of giving up, imagine to your higher self, to God, that doesn't make sense at all. And so what we want to remember, that usually whenever we get stuck in a cycle of manifesting, there's a squirrel outside, that's what I'm looking at. You guys got squirrels? Anyone commenting got squirrels near you right now? The reason, what was I going to say again? The concept or loss of hope is that we end up in a cycle, right? And the reason most of the time we say, I want to give up, we've done the same thing over and over and over again and didn't get the results we wanted. But that's just basically insanity, right? To try to do the same thing, because to really put it basically, we usually are in a state, so the state of feeling single, and instead of moving out of that state into the new one of being with our specific person and then seeing the results, we try to stay in the state and do a bunch of stuff that makes us think we're leaving the state. So the aspect would be, and Neville Goddard quotes this in his like books and stuff as well. Think of someone who feels really unloved, but then goes into an affirmation, sits down for 15 minutes and says, I am loved, I am loved, I am loved, while totally feeling unloved. Is that going to do anything for that person? You'd say, well, maybe a little bit, because they were speaking those affirmations, but they feel inherently unloved. So there's no state change happening at all. They're going to get out of that affirmation, feel just as unloved as they did before. So nothing in their reality is going to change. Everything is going to be seen through their vision and the state of being unloved. Now, if you use your affirmations techniques as a change of state, changing who you are and what you desire and what you want, the changing of the state is what causes a change of your reality. Because you can say whatever it is that you want, and that doesn't technically mean you're making a state change. So what we want to do when it comes to techniques, anytime you go into any technique, try to have the motivation or the feeling that it's going to change you. Because again, like I mentioned, any sort of technique that isn't changing us kind of, I don't want to say goes undone or it's effortless or pointless, but it kind of does. Because obviously, like I mentioned, saying an affirmation out loud does have an effect or aspect of helping us. But it always is, we need to feel it in order to make a change. Because the state then, if we look at our reality, the thought of giving up, do we feel, anyone who's ever felt like giving up, have you felt like your state has changed at all? Like, do you feel different than you did when you begun manifesting? And you're most likely going to say, well, yeah, I feel different. But do you? Do you feel different when it comes to relationships? Or do you just know more stuff? Right? And that's like seriously a question that I would ask yourself, because if we just know more stuff, that's not going to do anything, right? Knowing stuff is different from implementing it. Like if you watch this video, that's one thing. Obviously, the success story is this concept of knowing and having intention. This video is a perfect opportunity to get into the feeling and get into the state and manifest right here, right now. Or help yourself get into that. But again, there's no real use of it if we're not implementing or causing it to kind of go into our state. And I kind of have a question to ask you guys. And this will tell us if we're in the state of learned helplessness or not. So during the process, do you think, and there's two options, and you can be either or, no shame on either one. Do you think when you're manifesting, I'm in the process of getting the love I want? Do you think I'm in the process, perfect process, of getting exactly what I want? Or do you think when something goes wrong, I'm the problem because I can't get love, my life is ruined? Which, and maybe we're both of them at the same time, but which of them would you say that you act out or say more? And so learned helplessness is that second one. So saying, I'm the problem because I can't get love, my life is ruined, right? That's a feeling that a problem is permanent, everlasting, not going to change, which is an aspect of learned helplessness, which is why we would ever feel like giving up. But your 3D state and what's happening, I don't want to say is only temporary, but it really is. So it's assuming an end state, and then the bridge of events comes along to take us there. Okay? So during that process, those are all temporary things. If we feel or perceive there's problems, they're only a temporary thing to get us where we want to go, because we're kind of testing and trying to get into the state, because then once you cross over into the state, you're going to manifest right here and right now. Like as soon as you get into the state, you receive everything that state offers. So if you're in the state of being loved, then you're going to be loved. You're going to be abundant. You're going to be positive. You're going to be in that perfect relationship. But until then, obviously, like I mentioned, if we're pushing from our tabletop is really heavy with legs and the new one of feeling loved isn't so much, it's going to seemingly take a long time. Even though you can snap into it right now, I'm not denying you that. You can manifest anything. You could, after this video could be the deciding factor where you're like, you know what, I can absolutely do it. This is my reality. And you can gain that feeling or assumption right here, right now, and then see your recipe text you. Like it's happened many, many times before, so why can't it happen for you? But always be patient with yourself. But again, the bridge of events is this temporary, what we feel is logical to happen that is going to take us exactly where we want to go. And I have a quick little quote for you guys as well. And then I want to dive into that success story that I'm going to put up on the screen. So the quote is from Edmund Spencer. And he says, "It is the mind that maketh good of ill, that maketh wretch or happy, rich or poor." So basically, the law of assumption idea. Life is kind of what you make of it. Your reality is what you make of it. You either think you can or you think you can't. Either way, you're right. Whatever you assume in your reality is, and these even don't talk about it physically creating it, but it's physically creating it. Your assumptions physically change, alter, create your reality. So we need to remember at any point in time, we're choosing. So when you choose, oh, I'm going to give up on my manifestation. They don't care about me. They don't love me. This is pointless. That's what you're going to see happening. And then everything's going to feel pointless to you. But right here, hopefully this video is totally, totally changing that. So if we're getting into a feeling of learned helplessness, that's just not true. That's not your reality. That's not who you are. That's not your core. Your core is anything and everything you could have ever wanted. Because again, if you knew how much your specific person loved you, you would not want to give up at all. If you knew how close you were to your manifestation, the concept, the thought, the idea, even for a moment of giving up would scare you because your specific person is begging to be in your reality. And I'm not just saying that. This is something I've seen in a lot of coaching sessions. SPs, things when we're manifesting, basically trying so hard to come into your reality, but it's because we're in a previous state that we either don't see it or we kind of deny that reality. Because think of if we're in a state and it feels very comfortable to go into, we're going to be constantly kind of jumping back into that state whenever we lose our like conscientiousness of the reality, if that makes sense. Because the more or the less conscious awareness, which it's not just your conscious awareness, but the less we're physically choosing our thoughts, beliefs, actions, ideas, things like that, the more we're just going to slip into that previous state. And so now, and I know because hopefully this is all making sense, and hopefully you guys like that quote. So it is the mind that maketh good of ill, that maketh wretch or happy, rich or poor, kind of like an old English sort of style. But it's true. So it's true. If you don't have to give up. You literally do not have to give up on anything in your reality. If you want it, you can have it. I'll literally help you get it. I'm helping you right now. I'm telling you right now, you can get it. Hopefully this video convinces you. Hopefully this success story is going to convince you as well. So I'll put up on the screen. It's probably hard to read because it's a screenshot. And what I love about this one is it's a screenshot of someone who was just watching one of my videos. And it was your specific person manifestation is working perfectly if you can't fully read it. But here's what they said, because they sent it to me on Instagram. So they said, I was able to screenshot it. I got so happy because they were talking about they received 2 messages from their specific person while just watching my video. So that's the power of intention. I was able to screenshot it. I got so happy, but we've been having so much conversations this last week, even in video calls. He calls me several times a day even. We lived together. That was one of my biggest manifestations. He was the one asking us to move in together, but he's in I probably shouldn't say it. Well, I wrote it on there. He's in LA right now. I'm in Sweden. And then continue on. So this was after the fact. So they had all this awesome, amazing results. So look how quickly their message, so they're getting this text message, turned into all this amazing stuff. We living together. Like, imagine how quickly your reality can change just by a set intention, just by watching a video, a Kyle August video on manifestation. So it's like, that's crazy. And you're thinking about giving up? That's bizarre. Like that's so bizarre. Because I think, did they put, they didn't put how long before this point they were in no contact. I think I was going to think of, or I had a time in mind, but I think I'm actually thinking of a different success story. So I actually don't know how much time in between their no contact was to manifest these messages. But it's just crazy that how quickly that changed for that individual. So why can't it change for you as well? Why can't you send me a screenshot? Look, I'm going to point. You guys ready? I'm going to point to the screenshot because the text is going to come down. So just a moment. Your SP is going to text you right now, and it's going to come down, and I'm going to point to it right now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. That's a screenshot you're sending me when your specific person messaged you, because they messaged you at that time, didn't they? Of course they did, right? Send me this screenshot too. Boom, little thumbnail right there for my next video. But that's how easy intention can be. And if it happened to you right now, which I know it did, you're awestruck, right? This was for you. That's why I did that. But that's just, again, how much intention matters, how much your hope and desire and knowing of your end state actually creates, maintains, and alters your reality. And it's quick, it's easy, it's fast. I know it doesn't seem that way. In the same way that walking feels really easy to you, but back when you were a baby, it was probably hard to do. Even though if you jumped back, and I think I made another video on this, but if you jump back being a baby, you'd instantly walk, right? It's a state, right? It's a state. Everything is a state, and you can easily hop into the state if that's what you can assume to be right here and right now. But again, they're all states that we can hop into instantly, automatically, quickly. Nothing is stopping us. Nothing is stopping you from, again, getting that message right there, bing. Okay? Tell me if did you receive a message every single time that happened? Because actually, I know you did. You don't even have to answer that question. I know you're going to receive this instant manifestation text message from your specific person. But it blows my mind, again, if you knew how much your specific person loved you and how close you were to your specific person, the idea and concept of giving up makes no sense. But will I say, though, now, if you're feeling really down, I would focus on your internal concept. Like, if you're not feeling good, taking time to support that and make yourself feel good, that's not giving up, okay? That's you in the perfect process of manifesting. Like, that's exactly what manifesting is. That's getting into the state, allowing that to occur. And basically, well, more specifically, your state is the most important thing. So if you're not feeling fantastic, taking time to focus that on your internal state, that's amazing. That's awesome. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to do. And it's not giving up. If your specific person texts you and you're not in a good state and you don't want to text back immediately because you want to get into the state so your inspired action is that much better, that's manifesting, right? That's not giving up. Or taking time to yourself. All of those things are not giving up, because it's kind of like, think of the aspect, let's say you wanted to run a marathon and you're like, but I can't sleep because when I'm sleeping, I'm not preparing for the marathon. That's what we think when we like stop forcing action in our external reality. You'd be like, well, yeah, but you gotta sleep. You gotta take time to yourself. You gotta focus on your internal state. That's a whole part of the process. Hopefully this is making a sense for everyone. If you did have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Remember also, Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, I'm meeting with all my members to go live. We're going to talk about, again, the whole concept of this idea, this meeting of these lives are going to be manifesting your specific person by the end of January. So it's this month, so you can spend all of 2024 with them. So if you did want to join in on that, ask me questions, talk about your specific scenario, in the comments section, just click the link after become a member and you can hop right in. And then 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, we're going to dive into it. So you can show up live or you can show up after. It's going to be recorded and up for all my members forever. So even if you join on Monday, you can still see the video that was up on Sunday. Just you won't be able to ask me questions during it. If you did want to send me any personal questions or comments, head over to kyleaugustcoaching.com. And this is, again, if you have any successes, abundant things, sad things, worries, fears, always reach out to me on there. I'd be happy to hear it. I have been getting a lot of messages from when I was doing the free coaching for picking like 4 to 12 people to join. So if I don't like instantly respond, I swear I'm not ignoring you. I just have a lot of stuff to kind of catch up on that though. So be patient. I would love to help you. So don't feel like you're bothering me too. If you just want to be like, hey Kyle, this awesome thing happened, I would love to hear that. Or if you're like, Kyle, I'm worried about this, I would love to hear that as well. But again, stay tuned as well. So if you weren't one of the ones that I picked for like the free month, the 4 to 12 people, that's okay. I'm thinking I'm gonna see how this goes. I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it because every time I do like a group session, it's so much fun. It's so much a blast. Like even when our live on YouTube is gonna be a blast, even though I can't hear you guys talk. It's gonna be a blast. But I think this month is gonna be so fun. It's gonna get so much cool results. I'll probably do it again next month. So don't feel like depends on how it goes. But I think it's going to be a blast. As long as I have time, I'll probably do it again in February. And then that's perfect because then it's Valentine's Day. I got some good ideas cooking right now. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Become a member and join if you guys want to do it. Again, you don't have to because I'll always be uploading free content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So check me out on all those. But I can't wait to see you in the next video tomorrow. Hopefully you're not giving up on your manifestation. That's crazy thinking. But I'll see you tomorrow.